I really got the feeling she's involved with another guy here.
Where did you feel it?
In the bedroom. He got kicked to the curb. I got kicked to the curb.
Sometimes it's the best thing.
Thank
But let me tell
you
you-
for flicking me back to the street.
When you can't stop crying in front of people, that's serious.
I was a real man about it, and I cried in my car.
Oh.
So I actually felt the breakup coming, and I created the Finsta. Oh no, I got turned diabolical.
I'm the one that people are looking at. We can't
Not
both be pretty.
Back in the day, if you were gonna actually stalk someone, that took work. So almost to the point where you gotta respect the stalking.
We're never gonna get comfortable enough to respect the stalking.
I'm not saying. Will pubes make a comeback?
What?
Hey everyone, I'm Chloe Kaminskis, aka Chloe Monsta, along with your hosts Jaleel and Joseph Vecsey, and this is Everybody Lurks.
You guys understand that this is a Jewish-run show and it's black-owned. Put that out there.
This is look.
I'm down with all of these intros and everything.
This is a black-owned
This is a black-owned
podcast, which is the dream. You own
This is
3
the
white
dream.
people.
This is no. Let's not go that far.
And that's acceptable.
I don't own people. I own properties. I don't own people.
But it's a black-owned podcast. Well, I see you own the IP, but this is what Martin Luther King wanted. This right here.
I do believe that.
Okay, see, this is what he
This
wanted.
is exactly
All right.
what the I Have a Dream speech.
You know it's
entailed.
not.
I just want to let you know Skyler's eyebrows went up. He's like, yeah, we'll see about that, buddy. I got some good attorneys.
He's got some
I've
tricks
got
up his
some
sleeve.
good attorneys.
I'm calling my lawyer.
I got
Who's
some
also
tricks.
my dad.
My uncle.
Everyone's got some tricks up their sleeve. Never count white people out. You can never count them out. But no,
All right.
This is our first episode, Jaleel.
Is it?
This is our first one.
All
Yep.
right.
We're in it. We'll do the intros after, but
Yeah.
I think we gotta explain right why we're even doing this.
Why we know each other.
Why we know each other. Why? How would you describe yourself? Actor first, or what would be your?
I'll always be an actor at heart first. Yeah.
Because you know how some people like to do father, actor. It's like, all right, relax.
Yeah,
Just say what
nah,
you. We don't have to.
I get it, the
You're a
whole
good dad, we get
multi-hyphenate thing, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'm an actor first. I'm a producer. I'm a game show host. I love
Yes.
that job.
Author.
I'm a writer. I'm an author. Yes, I am an author, and I'm going to write more books.
Book is fire.
Yeah, thank
I'm
you.
listening to it right now.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's really good.
I appreciate that. Give me now. I have to prove. You prove it to me. Give me 1 point that resonated with you.
I want to know actually. So the funny thing is, so okay, I think just because we wanted to cover this later on the podcast, I've never seen Family Matters,
Oh yes. So we want to do a
Uh-oh.
live
So-
reaction of
and
her
I've been
watching
told
it for the
not to
first
watch
time.
it, and I've
I
been
told
told
her,
not to watch it
Don't-
because they want me to react.
Yes.
They being Joseph.
Think about how people are gonna find that so amazing.
I get triggered when a girl tells me that.
Why triggered?
It just takes me back to dating in my 90s. Because girls would always be like, oh, I don't know who you are. I've never seen the show, blah, blah, blah.
But she knows who you
But
are.
I know who you are.
But she's
Hey.
never seen the show. But
I
think
know,
about
I know,
it. She's
I know.
20
Like I said-
what are you, 22?
Oh, no,
22.
it's totally reasonable
Yes.
that she has not seen it. But like
Wait,
I, said,
I would be offended too if somebody was like, I don't know.
No,
I haven't seen your
but
show.
no. But it's just that I dated a girl for a long time who was my age.
Yeah.
And the second my mom found out that she said she didn't know me when she first met me, my mom was done with her. My mom was like,
Because it's not really it's not believable.
It's just-
back
it
then.
just- it's not- back then
believable.
it just wasn't
And that's not
believable.
even a cocky thing to say.
No,
it's just
yeah.
certain things are like, come on, wait, this is gonna throw you.
For you, it's
No,
believable, but it takes me back
Okay.
to the 90s.
Wait,
Yeah.
hold on.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna do that at one point. Have her literally watch you. Think about someone watching that for the first time. That's kind of mind blowing for people to witness that. But here's what's gonna really throw you about her. She's 22, right? Here's what doesn't make sense.
That's crazy. Born after Space Jam.
Okay, but ready for this?
Yeah.
This is actually weirder.
After 9/11.
I said, I mentioned we're talking comedy. She doesn't know who Matt Rife is. Now that doesn't seem believable.
Okay, now
in
that's
her
embarrassing.
Well, so I actually
That just means you're uninformed at your age, and we got to bring you up.
Well, this is the thing though. It's like I feel like this is so funny because the connotation of being a Matt Rife fan, from what now I'm hearing, is that you're like a pick me girl.
That's
being
what
a fan.
there's. Well, no, you know what she's. Let me tell you what she's speaking to.
What do you think?
I can tell what she's speaking to, and then you could comment. I think it's because there's a general. I'm not gonna say general. There's a perception by some because he's reached such a great level of success. That it also comes with some other backlash, and I think there are some people, especially unfortunately in the comedy world. Like I'm not one of those people. People all the time will be like, "Oh, like what do you think of him?" I get him more than anybody else will ask me, "What do you think of him?" And I'm like,
Really?
Yeah, no, a lot, especially in the comedy world and even outside of it. And I'm like, look, I've seen his stuff. I saw how he got big. I said the crowd work, all that stuff, super funny. Seems like a nice guy. He hustled. So that's all I have to say. I don't know him personally, but I think
I do know him personally.
there is, right. No, I know you do. So I'm like, I guess there is some perception of some people who have like a bad connotation, just like anything else that gets successful, of like, oh, why I might not like this person, or girls that like him are pick me girls. But I think it comes from probably the hate of him being a good looking dude who's also doing stand-up.
Bingo. Do we have a bell just to ring right there?
Ding, ding, ding,
Yeah.
ding, 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 ding.
Yeah.
He's a
So
good-
that's
he's
what.
a good
He's
looking
good looking.
Yes.
He's too pretty for
he's a-
me personally. But
dude.
So that's what it comes
I guess
from.
so. Like, expound on that. What do you mean too pretty? What does that mean?
So actually, okay, this is kind of funny, but I feel like in a relationship, at least from my perspective, there's got to be someone that's like, someone that's a little bit like the pretty one. Like you're like, oh, like I'm the one that people are looking at. And that's got to be me.
She wants the guy to be handsome.
We can't
not
both be pretty. We can't
That's-
both be pretty. That's going to be like a problem. Like someone's got to be a little bit like, the one that's like, we can't both be the pretty one, because then it's like we only have one mirror. This is going to take too long.
Yeah, you gotta respect.
We got to
that,
go
right?
places.
You gotta respect that, because
We
that's
can't
just,
both be doing our hair.
Matt's got to respect that. Not every girl can want to fuck him. He's got to respect that. So, but I shout out to Matt Rife. He seems like a very nice dude, and he worked his ass off to get to where he
That's
is, and
so
he's doing arenas.
That's so funny.
But I'm
that
just
you said
shocked that she didn't see him on TikTok. Forget comedy preference. Forget all that. The fact that she didn't just pop
I don't
up on her
believe that you
TikTok.
couldn't identify Matt Rife in a lineup.
I literally just saw a
No,
photo of
she-
him yesterday.
I do not believe that you cannot identify Matt Rife in a lineup. Can we put up a lineup
Of what?
of
Well, she
Four-
now can.
Well,
she
now I can, because I
four
looked him up yesterday.
good-looking white guys?
You're saying she could pick it out if
I
we
think
said.
to save her life, she would be able to pick out.
But she did not know who he was.
I want to go back to one thing. One thing you said where it was like, there's got to be one person in the relationship that everybody's looking at. Where does that come from?
Growing up ugly.
The sigh. I hope we cut to Skylar at that moment
Dog,
where he sighed. That
we
was
can't-
perfect.
We can't do this show without having
Oh.
Skylar, a camera on him at all times.
Oh my God,
we
that
gotta
was.
we gotta have some kind
No,
of.
the camera's on him.
I got
Camera's
my
on him.
little GoPro.
Camera's on him.
He's got
And
his
that was
camera.
Okay, you got
that
okay,
was
good.
perfect. That sigh.
All right.
Oh man, so we should.
I want to know but we're talking over her, and we're not gonna do that on
Yeah.
this show. All right, I want to know what.
Well, we had a
now?
genuine reaction.
What? Yeah, I know it was a great reaction, but where does that come from that there can only be one?
I was pretty awkward. And
So as an
geeky.
adult now, it's important to you that any guy that you're with is definitively not as attractive physically as you are.
I think that I prefer to be in like the cutesier role, and to have like my partner be more of like conventionally attractive. Like, like just more of like a handsome. That's my type. It's like handsome guys.
Handsome. So
There's a definitive line
definitively not fucking ugly.
Right.
But, handsome enough to not be completely ignored at a red rope.
Well,
I
but-
had a young lady tell me when I was dating, when I was way, way younger, because people kept coming up to me asking me for pictures and autographs
Right.
periodically throughout our first date. And she was
Right.
like, oh my God, I couldn't put up with this. She's like, you get way more attention than me. And she didn't even work in the business. She wasn't an actress. She wasn't like, I did the regular thing for a lot of years.
Yeah.
Because I'm like that. Like
Yeah.
I'm like I don't really matter what station in life you come from. If I'm
Right.
vibing off of you, I'm vibing off of you. But
Totally.
for her, it was like, you're getting more attention than me. And I foolishly never understood attention was a currency. It really is. Like attention is a monetary currency.
It's like identity capital. It's
And
like having,
and thanks to this thing called social media, now it's a currency that we can all recognize, share in, proliferate, and move around ourselves through our phones. But at
Totally.
that time, I was so annoyed by that comment because it clearly meant she was not spending any of our date recognizing the qualities in me that I would hope that she would recognize. because that's what I was
Interesting.
spending my day doing. He's like,
Well, it's definitely
what are
a-
you into, girl? What are
Yeah.
you? What are you?
Well, it's definitely a
about?"
red flag. I mean, that's a crazy thing to
Oh, yeah,
say.
it was a
super
one and done day.
self-centered kind of comment to make.
So I don't want her to fall in that category. That's why I was like,
Well, no, so but I don't think that necessarily is like an issue for me because I'm not necessarily being like, oh, I can't associate myself with you if you are, like more recognizable than me or more attractive than me or something like that. I just think like genuinely, like that's just like I feel like I've just always gone for more traditionally conventionally attractive guys.
There's a lot of girls. I'm actually not throwing it. There's a lot of girls I've heard this from. That's
Yeah.
like, oh, he's too cute for me. He's too fine. He's too good looking. I don't want to be around somebody that's that good looking.
Well, because
I
they
feel
also
like
might
also
think
a lot of
they might
times-
think that person's vain too. They might associate it with that.
I gotta say this too, especially Matt is so not vain.
No, I'm saying.
I know,
what
but
you might
it's
think.
the perception.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
and listen, perception and image in our country, especially, is everything. Unfortunately, but
Yeah.
when you talk to Matt, you kick it with Matt. Matt's probably one of the most humble comedians I've ever come across.
Yeah, well, I've seen him in interviews.
At
He seems
his
nice.
age, he and I had a great day at the freaking Met of all places, man. Just going to the museum like Ferris Bueller. Waiting
I love
for,
that movie.
It was Dave's 50th birthday, Dave Chappelle's 50th birthday weekend in New York, and Dave was doing 4 shows back to back. So during the day, people were just jumping up and going to brunches and lunches or whatever. He had a whole crew with him and was like, "Yo, we want to go to the museum." He's like, "Yo, all right, I'll meet you over there." And it was just a very memorable day because I just remember he didn't carry himself nearly the way a girl would be intimidated by him to say, "Oh, there's another pretty guy." And it was like, nah, if you don't, I feel like all of our interaction, the reason why I dove into that though, is I feel like all of our interaction with each other
Yeah,
is really based on how we feel about ourselves.
totally.
And it can change all of our interactions, even in this room, based on how we're feeling
Sure.
about ourselves at any given moment. If Joseph starts going through something and a month from now, and it's like, yo, Joseph feels different or whatever, but he might be feeling different, but he's making me feel different now. And it's all based on the way he feels about himself.
Yeah, no, that's true.
I prefer to feel very feminine in the relationship.
Okay.
Whether that means I'm like a caretaker role or I'm like,
I like
a
hearing
more
that.
motherly role, or not motherly, but just more of a feminine. Like I like to be the softer one. Like that's just me naturally. So maybe I'm just attracted to guys that present a more masculine energy.
All right, look, we've got the best transition cuts with just his reactions, which we're going to use to get from story to story.
Story to story.
But
What
getting
are we
us back
doing?
on time. Getting it back on time.
Why are we doing this? Why are we here?
Why is this called Everybody Lurks? How do we even know each other? Okay. Joseph and I were quarantined in Philadelphia while shooting the movie Hustle for Netflix. This was a very mysterious blessing in my life because I was going through a horrible breakup.
Yeah.
Like, just horrible. Like, one that had my brain spinning.
I didn't know how bad it was.
Like,
till like years
what
later.
the hell is happening to me in the middle of this? All right.
Yeah.
And I get a call from my manager. He says, "Hey, Adam Sandler wants you in his movie Hustle. I've already done the deal, et cetera, but you're going to Philadelphia and you have to quarantine at the Four Seasons Hotel for 10 days before you can even be around Adam," because this was in the middle of the worst of COVID at the end of 2020.
Oh shit. Yeah.
So I haven't even left my house. I don't know how much money I'm even going to get paid. It was what it was. I didn't almost care. I was getting paid. I was going to go stay at the Four Seasons across the country when the world was telling us we couldn't be around each other for 10 days at 25% occupancy. So for the next 10 days, I ate peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and swam in their luxurious pool.
Great pool.
Great pool.
That pool is
on
legendary.
The 57th floor.
Oh my God.
And it's like I was Eloise at the plaza and living in this place.
I would go to Philly
Please
just
show
for
a
that
picture
pool.
of Eloise so that people understand
It was
that me comparing myself to Eloise at the plaza is an eclectic reference. But
It was sensational.
it was sensational.
Great food, great.
Adam calls me on day 10. It's like, buddy, he calls me directly. Oh, shoot, somebody gave him a number. Says, buddy, we're going to play ball later
Were
on
you
today.
were you mad that someone gave out your number without asking you?
Obviously, it's Adam Sandler. I don't care how he got the number. All All right, it's amazing how that works in life.
Right? Somehow, yeah,
Right. And he says, buddy, we're playing ball in like a couple of hours. I can send a car to pick you up. And I was just like, oh, okay. Well, he's like, well, when could you get ready? And I was like, well, I don't know. We don't have to rush it or anything like that. But, do you want to, I can come in the morning. And it was like, okay. And he was really polite. And then I get a call from Barry after that. It was like, hey, like, Adam, serious. Like, we're playing ball in like a couple of hours. We can send a car to pick you up if you want us to. So they keep hitting us with the if you want us to, but now it finally registers after 2 phone calls. Oh, no, you're telling me to pack my shit and leave the Four Seasons and enter the bubble that is Adam Sandler. So Adam had a different living arrangement, with about 3 homes or more. I never even saw every home on a compound on Main Line in Philly, and on one of the properties was an entire private basketball court built by this amazing guy named Ed Baumstein.
Ed Baumstein. Shout out to Ed Baumstein, the great, the legendary.
And so Joseph and I became quasi roommates, and we lived up and downstairs from each other. We were all pretty spaced apart, and it felt like for the next 8 days now, okay, I've already quarantined for 10.
Yeah.
Our job was to play basketball with Adam whenever he was ready, and I was relegated to waiting to just be called to set. All right, so here begins the best 3-on-3 basketball games that I played throughout COVID. Unbelievable. I was not preparing for this much basketball, so I never told Adam.
You were surprised how...
I never told Adam how much my feet were hurting because I only had 2 pair of sneakers and one of them were J's, and you do not play ball in J's. You rock J's these days, but they actually
You're not going to say no.
They don't make them well enough for you to actually play ball in J's.
Yeah.
And it didn't take me but 5 seconds to realize when I see them configuring these teams, oh, they just brought me to guard this fool because nobody else could guard him. So, I almost wonder if that's how I ended up in the movie. Is that they could only have a limited number of people. So what actor could we hire to play this role that can guard Joseph and be in quarantine with us, and we stick him in the movie too?
That's hilarious.
So all these things,
the first play, kind of just interject. The first play, obviously Jaleel didn't know that, but it was a very nice compliment that we do a few plays and we're guarding each other, and then Jaleel was like slightly a little out of breath because it was just like it was a competitive quick, and you were just like, you grew up around some brothers. It's like you grew up around black folks. You did something. Okay, I see what this is. Like, it was really like you had seen like someone was trying to like pull the wool over your eyes. Like, I see what's going on here.
Hey, listen, one thing I'm gonna figure out my environment real quick. I'm gonna figure it out. And so, as I'm attempting to guard Joseph, and Joseph's younger than me too, and I'm not wearing the proper shoes, but I'm going through the motions in this 3-on-3 game. Joseph's handle and his shot, they don't match his look at all. His look might even irritate some brothers. Like, somebody pick him up or whatever. And he hates it when I talk about him like this, because in his mind, he's so intimidating. In his mind, he's so intimidating.
So intimidating.
It's okay.
But
Joseph's first
once he starts dribbling, once he starts doing his thing, it's quite clear you grew up playing with East Coast brothers.
Right.
East Coast.
And he can't even handle.
And I had to figure him out. And we had some nice little battles going. And I think Adam rather enjoyed watching us attack each other like this every day in quarantine.
I quickly realized, though, when we were playing against each other, if we had known each other when we were both the same age, if there was a world that existed, we might not have become friends. Right?
And why?
Well, because, I would say you're a bit more competitive than me, but I would say it would have both got a little heated. Because we did have one day that got, heated. I can't remember what exactly happened, but it was definitely like a battle. And I remember one time Jaleel said, all right, I'm only going to go so far because, we're on production. We're in production right now. It was got a little,
well, when you're on production especially, I had to learn this the hard way. I played in the NBA E-League. And the NBA used to sponsor a league specifically for people who worked in the entertainment business for like 8 years. And I mean, these were some legendary games in private quarters, by the way, and none of this camera phone stuff. Tobey Maguire would be in there, Leo would be in there, Will Ferrell would be in there, Donald Faison, you name it. I mean, I there's so many guys in this industry that I know just strictly through that league.
Yeah.
And it feels like a frat.
I would go watch a few of those games when I
Yeah,
was young. Those
yeah.
were amazing. I was always like fiending to play in those games. Like,
yeah.
I couldn't like.
Everybody wanted in.
Well,
those
because
games.
you would see. Here's what would happen. You would see actors who might have played basketball players, or just actors that didn't even play sports or in movies, but then were in those games, and I could watch them and I could tell. Oh, these guys think they're a little better than they are because they were in, Coach Carter. And I'm like, and I would just be like, there's actually one guy I do remember from Coach Carter that was very good.
Antoine Tanner.
Tall, right?
No, that was
You know what I'm talking about, the real tall guy.
my
He
gosh.
was nice. No, it was
Nana.
That's
Nana.
what I said.
Yep.
I was that. Look, he's
dude,
nice.
The dude you're talking about from Coach Carter is Nana.
Nice. He's nice.
Nana was a beast, and Antoine
No.
Tanner, both of them. Antoine will give you 40.
I don't know if I saw Antoine that day.
So we had our own pecking order back in the day.
I never saw him play, but okay, so
No,
I saw the other
Antoine-
guy play.
Antoine and
But-
Nana were fire.
So yeah.
We had our own pecking order back in the day that we just all knew of. Forget about social media of like who can really ball, who's faking it, who shouldn't have been in that movie because they can't play. That like. I used to put a high premium on that, especially when I watched a basketball movie. If I could tell immediately, oh, this guy can't play ball. Like it was annoyance to me hugely, especially because I played my character, but in real life, I could play ball.
Right.
So I always dreamed of being in a basketball movie, and Hustle kind of fulfilled that for me, even though I didn't get a chance to play.
We show a clip of you at the end.
Yeah, you did. Hey, and I
You like
appreciate
that,
that.
right?
I like
You like
that.
that?
I like that. During the credits, my man made sure they got a clip of me actually playing in the closing credits of the film.
Yes.
But people don't
100%.
realize that Adam was so meticulous
yeah.
in
and
the
that
casting of that film.
Yeah.
There's nobody in that film that is not a huge appreciator or player of the game. Everybody, from Queen Latifah to him to myself, everybody top to bottom is a basketball fan.
Yeah.
But as it pertains to us, we were Adam's entertainment. We were Adam's teammates.
And by the way, it was also Adam's idea when he came up. He was like, because originally I remember the role was written for someone like in his 50s or something like that. They were like they were like older guys, or it seemed that way. And then he literally mentioned, he was like, no, because he knew you hooped, and I think he wanted these people to feel like they were basketball players, even if you don't see them playing basketball. And right away, because I thought, okay, rolling their 50s, so I'm not thinking along those lines. And then as soon as he said you, it was like, oh yeah, that's fucking perfect. Perfect.
I appreciated that so much from Adam, that he thought of me in that way.
Yes.
Because all of the black filmmakers that I grew up loving, from Spike Lee on, they didn't think of me that way.
Right.
And all I ever wanted was an opportunity to be like, Spike, I can play, dog. Like, I don't.
Oh yeah, you should have been in He Got
Like,
Game.
I don't care if you put me in for, if I'm the most peripheral role, just throw up the rock and we'll make it look good.
Yeah.
And I never got that consideration. So getting that from Adam kind of scratched a little itch for me, man, that I always appreciate.
And the basketball was taken very seriously most of the time, or a lot of the times in Hollywood. For some reason, sports is the one thing they don't feel like we have to get right.
Yes.
And it doesn't make any sense. And let me just say, White Man Can't Jump, right? Great movie. I love it. I'm entertained by it. The basketball, in 90% of it, is so atrocious. And when they tell me that they had a basketball consultant, or what do you call it, choreographer, I'm like, where was he from? What? Wesley Snipes is doing on the left side of the basket a right hand layup like this, which I've never even seen to this day. To the point where it might be a novelty. Maybe that guy was a genius, but. People, and like Woody could play a little bit, but people actually thought Woody was better than he was because Wesley was so bad. And it's not even a diss to them. It's not even a diss to them, but just get it right. The only ball player in that movie I saw that could play was Dwayne Martin. And Dwayne, who actually, we could talk about him at another time, but I've known him since a kid. He was in Above the Rim, which I would argue before Hustle, or put them right at the same thing, are the two best, in my opinion. They're the two best basketball movies. Mainly because I always referenced Above the Rim as the best basketball movie ever made. Not only because it's a good movie, but the basketball is on such
What
a
are
high
your top
level.
5 basketball movies ever made? What
I
are
would
yours?
do Hustle, Above the Rim. I would do Hoosiers. I would do. There's a big one I'm leaving out. I mean, I will say, Coach Carter, I really did enjoy. So I could put Coach Carter in there. There's some basketball that bothered me in there.
Okay.
A couple crossovers that look like, what were we doing? And then there's one big one I'm leaving out for as far as basketball that I would say was, and I don't know what the 5th one is. I guess I would throw, He Got Game in there, but I will say as a movie, I didn't love it. I thought there was a lot of good parts to it, but it wasn't my favorite. So
Number 1 of all time for me is still Hoosiers. I'm just I'm so old school. Just pure storytelling and character development. Hoosiers just gives you goosebumps.
Yeah.
After that, Hoop Dreams.
That was with
That was,
DiCaprio?
no. Hoop
No,
Dreams
what
was
was
a
that?
documentary.
But all right, but now let's do movies, narrative.
That's a movie, bro.
But
It's a
documentaries,
movie.
that's different. That's
Hoop
all-
Dreams is a legendary doc. I get to pick
But then
what I
we
want to
could-
pick. Yeah, I get to pick. You picked yours. You stay away from mine.
That's
You
like
picked
asking you
yours.
top 5 rappers. You give me an R&B singer. Come on, what are we doing?
Hoop Dreams. All
All
right,
right,
you
all
go
right.
find your own list.
All right, what's
so I got
3?
Hoosiers, Hoop Dreams, Hustle, because I'm in it. I was so happy with the way it turned out.
Hustle's an amazing movie, and the basketball is all
the
real.
all of the basketball,
All real.
is top notch. Like
Yo,
it's
we worked.
it's
Shout
the-
out to Mike Fisher, Del Demps, Bobby Verdun. We all worked choreographing, obviously with Adam, of course, and the director Jeremiah, who was amazing,
Mm-hmm.
Jeremiah Zagar. It was just like crafting the basketball, making sure that this does not look rehearsed. This does not look fake. The street ball scenes we really wanted it to make it feel authentic, and I think we did that.
Yeah. Then after that, I'd say Coach Carter, and this is gonna be tough because I'm like, the storyline was not great, but it was still so iconic. I'm like, do we put blue chips in there?
Oh, okay. Yes.
Do we put
Okay.
blue chips?
That's the one I forgot.
Do we
yes.
put blue
chips is
The
over.
Blue
He got
chips
game.
is Penny Hardaway and Shaquille O'Neal.
That's the one I forgot.
And literally what led to them actually playing together and the Orlando
Yes.
Magic drafting Penny. So those
Yeah,
are my
yeah.
those are my top 5.
100. I forgot. So blue chips is big because the basketball in there is also amazing. Nick Nolte is pretty damn good.
Right.
It's all no, that one.
So now that we've done alienating all of our female listeners with all of this sports talk, let's
Well, we need males too. You know.
let's get to the let's get
You guys
to
were
what-
both getting out of breakups,
We
or
were-
you
yeah.
were going through a really
I wasn't just
tough
getting
breakup.
out of a
Now,
breakup.
so-
but-
Oh no.
you were going through a breakup too.
No. Well,
You had an ex that you kept referring to.
yes, yeah. No, I'm not saying I wasn't. I just was making it clear that I didn't It wasn't like
Well,
I
what's
just
just
got
in your opinion? Because this
Yeah,
is
what's
Mr.
just?
Pedantic over here.
I'm just well, jeez.
What's just within a year?
It was I got broken up with in 2019. So yes, and it was like maybe 8 months or maybe 10 months after that.
Okay,
it
so
was
that's
like,
fresh, bro.
Is that fresh?
That's fresh.
I just was making it clear that it didn't happen the day before I got to quarantine. So I like to be
It
specific.
didn't
All right.
happen the day before I got to quarantine either.
All right.
But it was it
Okay,
was-
so yes, we were both getting out of breakups,
hold
trying to
up.
move
I
on.
want to be very specific. So,
Okay.
so we both love basketball.
Yep.
We're both quarantined.
Yep.
both
We're
miss
both
women.
were broken up with, which was unique too.
yes,
So
yes,
he got kicked to the
yes.
curb. I got kicked to the curb. All right.
You're out on the streets.
In our
You're playing ball.
Can I tell the story of when how I got? Can I just tell this?
I'm actually proud I got kicked to the curb now because
No, it all worked out. No, it worked out.
because it worked
It all
out.
worked
I'm
out.
like,
But
Sometimes it's the best thing.
thank
But let me
you
tell you-
for flicking me back to the streets.
let me say this, preference this, because I'm actually friends with my ex to this day. She was a very maybe this was our differences a little
Oh,
bit.
we're gonna talk about
she
that.
was very respectful, nice, and
Right.
and we're actually now friends, and it's very cool. It turned out to be the best thing, but we got
Mine was disrespectful and overly optimistic about her opportunities for herself.
See, very different. And I've had those too, but that wasn't this. And I just want to get to the comedy of it. Forget the part of yes, she was very nice, did it respectfully. I had no reason to be angry, I should say, just sad. But anyway, it happened to be.
I was angry.
Yes, you were. I was angry.
Joseph was sad.
I was very sad. You were
Joseph was sad. I was angry.
But there's no good.
Nonetheless, both on the streets.
I had a
Released.
very busy schedule in 2019, so there was no good time to do it. So the day before ended up being the day before I had to leave for tour with Adam, and she broke the news, and I was like in person, and I was like, oh, okay. And I remember I'm like, we actually ended up, this is crazy. It happened on a beach, and got broken up with, and I'm walking in my car, I'm crying, and I remember I get like a text from Adam, like just randomly, like something about tour or whatever. And I was just like, okay, I'll hit you back. I'm just getting broken up with. And then I think he didn't know what it was. Is this guy serious?
Sorry,
and
we'll call that back. I'm just got my heart ripped out of my chest.
That's
but
literally, I'll text you back. And then the next day I had to get on a flight at 9 a.m. And when I tell you, like, I'm on the private plane, which is, I guess not the worst place to be, but tears are when you can't stop crying in front of people, that's serious. I'm wearing sunglasses. I got tears streaming.
Scott,
now,
please mark this on the tape.
And
so
I got no problem with this story. And I got tears streaming down my face. And Adam actually knows. He's the only person I told, but nobody else I told. So no one else knows what's going on. They think like I'm having, I don't know what they think's gonna happen.
something's happening.
But they know something. And yeah, it was pretty, but everybody was pretty supportive. But that's how bad it was to do that in front of people on tour and just be like,
I did not know this little detail.
Taken aback. It was I always have a joke about it that's how it cured my anxiety for flying, because you just don't worry about being alive anymore. You know what I mean? So I was like, oh yeah, okay, I just got broken up with. As soon as this plane took off, I was like, let's fucking go. I'm like, hit the turbulence, Captain. Let's fucking don't land this. Don't be a pussy. I was not scared of flying that day. I had zero fear of flying that day. I didn't need a Xanax. That breakup calmed me down. On the flight, but then I was fucked up, for like weeks and weeks. And also a funny part of that was everyone obviously eventually found out about the story. And then everyone was nice. And Rob Schneider was not on the plane that day. He met us there. So then a couple cities later, he doesn't know the story. We're in Chicago. We're all sitting at dinner. Everyone's there. And maybe a couple people are messing with me about something else. And then Schneider goes across the table. He goes, hey, say what you want about this kid, but he's got a great girlfriend. Because he doesn't know. He doesn't know. He's the only one that didn't know. And then everyone just like is like, ooh. And then I was like, he's like, what? What happened? And I was just like, yeah. And I was like, she broke up with me. And he was like, oh no. He like got up from the table, took a lap around the restaurant. He was just like, I didn't know, pal. And I gotta say, Rob Schneider at that time, before I met you, he was very, I don't know what he's been through in his life, but he was very supportive and knew and talked to me a lot through it. And
nice of him.
I never thought I'd be a place in my life where I'm like, wow, I'm crying on a private
Have you
plane.
checked to see if he follows her online now, though?
He follows her. Yeah.
Does he follow you?
No, he met her. He had met her before. He was like, she's really nice.
He seems to have been a fan of her work. He seems to have been a fan.
Great girlfriend. Here, I'm going to talk you through this.
Yeah. I'm gonna talk
What's
you
her
through
number
it.
again?
Yeah.
I can help her too.
He was very supportive. He was very nice, and I at another moment cried in front of him too. So I was like, that's the place I was at, where my life's crazy. I'm crying right now in front of the hot chick.
Well, I'm the opposite of you. I was a real man about it, and I cried in my car.
Oh.
So that's but
I think it would have happened with us. If I had seen you the day after, I think you would have cried in front of me.
I don't know, man. Like I said, the 4 seasons, that was rehab for me.
No, I'm saying if I was there.
So how fresh was your breakup then?
Mine it kept lingering. It was like on and off again, because she really actually didn't know what she wanted to do. She was weighing all that. She didn't realize I was like, okay, I'm the kind of guy, like, I afford my partner a lot of privacy. I really believe in that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, because I think sometimes in life, if you could have come to the right decision if you just had enough space to come to that decision.
Right.
If you didn't have, a bunch of, your girlfriends chirping in your ear, giving you terrible advice or whatever, just give yourself some space.
Right.
Give the other person some grace.
Yeah.
And see if you can, figure it out. But I wasn't getting that consideration at this point, and so it was like, it just lingered. It was actually a year-long breakup, but it really culminated with me leaving town finally now, and going to do this movie.
Yeah.
And
we saved you.
No, hey, listen, you really don't understand what hustle meant to me.
Would you say,
Hustle saved you.
Like,
which in some ways would you, well, no, I can't say I'm a savior, but we were a part of
savior complex.
being, yeah.
I'll tell you how much of a part you were was at the end of Hustle, instead of flying me back to LA, you guys flew me to my new wife's vacation home.
Although I can't take credit
The
for
woman
that,
I
but
was
I like
eventually married.
I'll pretend to take credit for that.
So I'll say it again. So yeah, I'll tell you how much Hustle meant to me was at the end of production, instead of flying me to LA, I flew to meet the woman I would date next, who I ended up marrying.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
I flew right to Reno. So I'm like,
Even
when
though I didn't make-
connecting the dots of that was like,
and now I'm connected to the dots.
Everything happens for a reason.
You know what?
Everything.
Absolutely.
And I didn't make.
serendipity.
Obviously, I didn't make that flight, but I'm gonna say now I feel responsible for your marriage.
I wish you would not. I wish you would not. you,
I'm
That's
connecting
a
the
crazy
dots now.
statement.
you are
So
responsible.
the reason this podcast is happening is because Joseph is directly responsible for your marriage.
What Joseph is responsible for is both he and I developed a terrible habit of looking up our exes on their Instagram stories.
Everybody lurks.
And,
I would do that with a lot of girls.
And then we would call each other at like 2 and 3 in the morning because sometimes we would just go shoot in the gym by ourselves.
Yeah.
And be like, yo, you up? All right, cool. I'll meet you in the gym. The gym was right there on the property.
Yeah.
And then he'd look at his phone and we'd catch our exes looking at our stories. Like, yo, that bitch is looking at my shit right now. Yo, she just looked at mine. She looked at mine. So we are so hype off of this, right?
Yeah.
What we're finding, what we're reading into,
Yeah.
why she posting that. Oh, I'm telling you, this is the new guy's place. She doesn't understand. I know what that bathtub looks like in the background. And it was like, oh, we were going deep, right? We were going deep.
Yeah.
But it was like this healthy stalking from a distance and also appreciating that we were still being
Lurking.
stalked too.
Ah.
So even though she broke up with him and I'd been broken up with, they were still very interested in what we were doing.
So, okay, I have a question based on this like lurking kind of theme. So she's watching your stuff,
And I'm watching
and you're
her.
watching hers. Would you consider this like hate following?
Yes.
This is a hate follow.
Well, for you,
Yes.
For you.
for mine, I would not
Yours
say
was
it
not because you said that you were sad. You said that you were angry.
Well,
so
and
this is a
she,
hate
yeah,
follow.
and I don't think, and she didn't hate me, so I think she was just like still like, you know, being
Inquisitive of what's
I don't know
going
if
on
even
with your life.
inquisitive, just but she had no reason to like unfollow me. We didn't have some big beef, so why, you know?
I wanted to be positive
Okay.
because typically I'm actually cool with people I've known from my past like that. Like, yo,
Right.
what's up, man? Especially if they have like kids now and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. You're like, we're
that's
past
beautiful.
that.
Yeah, we're
Like,
past that.
yeah.
That's beautiful, right?
Yeah.
Past that.
But this was different. There's a culture in LA. And it's very specific to LA. I can't speak in every other major city around the world for this, but LA,
Yeah.
there tends to be this like relationship competition that jumps off that says if you're not going to be with me and you're kicking me to the curb specifically because you've decided you don't need to be settling, you can do better. It's like, and that becomes known. Like, whoa, wait a minute. Like, oh, I'm not enough now. Somebody's gotten in your ear and convinced you that you are what everybody should be wanting out here in LA. A competition jumps off. Nobody talks about it.
Yeah.
It's very quiet, but it's like, okay, who's going to realize their dreams first? Who's going to have the babies and the kids and the blower or in the Range Rover or whatever all this material crap is
Yeah.
out here? And when I feel like somebody is, I've been in relationships like this in the past where I felt like by the end of it, the person was competing with me. That's why I asked you a little bit about that thing about who needs to be cuter in the relationship and whatever, because it triggers me a little bit because I don't feel comfortable in relationships where
There's a competition
the person
going
I
on.
would give anything to.
Yeah.
There should be no jealousy
Yeah,
in a
you can
relationship.
have-
Your
you can-
person's win
Yeah.
is the other person's win.
Exactly. Like
But I
my-
still don't think that's what she meant.
wife-
But I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I know, but and that's
Yeah,
what I
yeah.
say. It was only slightly.
Yeah, yeah.
But I was just like, this thing can happen in LA
Yeah.
where two people are together, but they're really competing with each other. and they don't even realize it.
No, and I've been
Yeah,
in,
yeah, and like there's also like the after there's like the post breakup glow up.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
right?
like, you know, like we're kind of thinking about like, you know, like people will get out of a relationship and then you know, they'll go get their lips done or they'll go and get a BBL.
Yeah.
Or they'll go, you know, lose
see-
a ton of weight. Like remember Khloe Kardashian had like revenge body. Like she like
Revenge
ran
like all of
body
that
is
is nonsense to me. So
Yeah.
like when I realize that somebody is competing against me like that,
Yeah.
I gotta say this: I've lived such a charmed life
Right.
that I really just want to retreat unto my life again and
Right.
just remind myself that it's like, dude, I know a lot of cool people. I'm blessed to have amazing family.
Yeah.
I've got resources on my own
Right.
that I need to focus on bettering just me.
Yeah.
And I could tell that through that breakup, we were on a timeline competition that I had been put on somehow. Like somehow, if I hadn't achieved this by then or this by then I would be a loser. And I was just, I needed to just pull back from that and be like, baby, you got it.
Yeah.
You got it. You can have a spotlight right now.
Yeah.
You know, take whatever friends from our mutual friend group you want, take them.
Yeah.
I'm not competing for those people either.
Yeah.
Anybody that wants to mention you or feel like they're friends with you can take them.
Yeah.
What else you want? You want that restaurant? Oh, you want to take our church? Take the church too. Got
Yeah.
it. So, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
whatever you want, is there anything else out of here you want to claim?
Yeah.
Cool. And by just falling back, observing, being respectful. I was definitely respectful. I might have been angry,
Yeah.
but I was respectful.
Got it.
Over the next like 4 years of my life, the growth I experienced was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like, see, like
Like
it-
focusing all that energy into yourself.
Yeah, taking all of that
Totally.
energy and just focusing on how can I make myself better? How
Right.
can I not repeat certain mistakes? How can I focus on my daughter better?
Yeah.
You know, instead of I need to do this to show her up.
Yeah, of
no,
course.
Totally.
I'm
yeah.
like,
because that's a waste of time.
no, that's just is total waste of time.
Right. Energy.
And I hate to say
Mental,
this. I hate
physical,
to say
everything.
this about LA, but it's true also.
Yeah.
I also kind of discovered if I stayed where I'm supposed to be, if I go where I'm supposed to go,
Yeah.
I never run into them.
Yeah, of course. Wait, dude,
I only run into bad exes when I'm someplace I'm not supposed to be.
Interesting.
100%.
I never cross paths with an ex when I'm where I'm supposed to be. And we just started realizing, we were like, dude, I wonder how many people spend a lot of time worrying about where their ex has gotten in life as
Yeah.
opposed to focusing on where they've gotten in their life. And because we have social media now,
It's so easy.
when you break up with somebody, there's still a trail for you to go back and check up on them.
Absolutely.
As opposed to back in the day, if you broke up with somebody, especially if they moved away, you just never saw them again.
Yeah.
It's done. They went
Maybe
off
you
into the
heard a little
forest.
something about
Yeah.
them, but like it was not like you could like see that they're in Cabo
You
right
can-
now with
that's right.
XYZ, and you could see that they were getting on this flight and
How does
getting
your
this new
generation
job.
deal with that? Being able to tangibly go back and see, well, did she do better than me? Did, is she, was I holding her back? How has she changed? Has she changed in a way that I'm more attracted to her? Has she
Right.
changed in a way that I'm less attracted to her? Like, I'm curious between you two, like, how does your generation deal with that, having that digital footprint of where you been?
Right.
Block him.
I eventually got blocked.
I think that
Blocking.
blocking
I was blocked. I didn't disclose that part with Mr. Over here. I got
with
blocked.
Mr. Vecsey, you got
But then I had to
blocked.
create the Finsta.
The burner accounts.
Finsta's crazy, dude.
Well, now
The
Instagram.
Finsta.
My third email this week.
No, but now Instagram, if you block somebody, there's a feature that says
Right.
block this person and future accounts
And
that they
all
may
accounts.
create.
Back then, they didn't have
didn't have
that
that.
feature.
Yeah.
So now it wouldn't work. But
Yeah.
back then, I actually felt the breakup coming,
Yeah.
and I created the Finsta.
That's evil, dude.
Fake instas.
Oh no, I got turned diabolical.
Wait,
Like, I
wait,
got
that's not evil. I feel like that's like
I got turned
The
up.
Finsta.
Brother, you better.
What are you talking about? Your
I
it's
burner.
Finstas.
What's that? I was about to get blocked. And so I was like, you remember I created the Finsta.
Yeah.
What was your Finsta?
use-
Actually,
I
we
will
can't
never
even
share.
say.
My Finsta. My Finsta is incredible.
Is it still alive?
I don't use it that much, but I'm like,
Well, now you're
it's
married,
there.
so you're like,
Yeah.
but
Your ex.
But
You
it was
could-
like, my Finsta is awesome.
wait, that's amazing.
Do you think there's any time? Can anyone track your Finsta? Do you think there's any way? Like if you,
Oh, I'm sure.
if
Yeah.
you suspected.
Oh yeah, there's ways.
Yeah.
See, that's scary.
There is a way.
You can look at when it was
okay, so we have to
created by,
dig
like-
into this. I actually, I'm gonna give it up. I'm gonna give up how you can track. If you think somebody has a Finsta account, maybe perhaps a girl showed me this one trick, and I expect you to find more, Chloe. That is your role here. Is go to that account and ask for go to the account that you think is a Finsta, and then request to change your passcode.
You mean log in as that person's
No,
account?
you can't. Just request to change the passcode. Look at Skylar's diabolical.
Wait, what
too.
do you mean request to change?
If you request to change the passcode, it's going to give you enough of their email associated with that account.
So you'd have to create then a different email
yes,
to
that,
get.
Yes,
So
that
you need a burner
might,
email.
that you might recognize that person.
So you need a burner email.
So you got to have burner email now. Now you
That's
got
a lot.
I have a
that's
burner
lot.
email.
That's a lot. But
have a
most
burner
people
email.
are lazy.
But isn't there-
And they don't do it with a burner email
they do it
too.
with their email, so it's like last
so any
four-
stranger, like a stranger could come to my account and say, hey, I want to reset my password. But all it's going to do is it's going to send me, it's going to send me, it's going to send all the requested information to me. So it's like, yo, somebody's requesting I didn't request this, but they have no access to it.
right.
But it gives enough of the info associated with the account that you might be able to recognize.
That's
You
fascinating.
could even try
I mean,
blocking that account now. Block their account, and if you suspect it's theirs, then it will be
Listen,
also blocked.
I got
because
coaches-
of that new feature.
Listen, I got coaches for this stuff. That's why I like to stay in a relationship. I like to stay wholesome because if a girl turns me diabolical, I go down a rabbit hole that's just not healthy. Because now I gotta win it. Now we're in a battle and I gotta win it.
So you're a little
But it-
toxic
look,
in these
I
relationships.
gotta win
But
it.
why does everyone? But but again, the theme of the show.
My worst story is just even this is a whole nother level.
Well, I'm just saying that everybody,
hear
I
it.
think, does this stuff, right? We know everybody lurks on people's pages, whether it's through a burner account or their real account. People look stuff because it's all one click away. But then we do also live in this kind of where high and mighty, where people will be like, "Oh, I don't do that," or "I would never," or they're like, "Oh, I caught this person doing that." And we're like, I assume, right? Girls do
Everybody.
it. I mean, and I think when girls also do stuff, it's a little less probably deemed as a less creepy or less stalkery, right? Because like
Totally, I think that
a
the
girl's just like, a girl's being a girl. But like, if you said the same thing a girl was doing, looking at a guy's page, and a guy was doing that, they'd be like, "Oh, ooh, you need to be careful. Oh my God, that's so what an asshole," or "He's weird," or whatever. And you're like, okay, everybody fucking does this. And because it's also right there. It's not like back in the day, if you were gonna actually stalk someone, that took work. you had to fucking go out of your house. You had to get gas. You had to really like
It's
find them,
expensive.
go to their work, not get caught. Sunglasses. What's the fucking that old disguise they used to have with
Little
the fake
mustache.
nose? And you'd have to go really stalk them. So almost the point where you got to respect the stalking. It took work, but now,
it was a
but
part-time job.
now it's one click of a button. That's easy. That's not stalking. That's convenience.
We're never gonna get comfortable enough to respect the stalking.
I'm not saying it took work ethic. It
took
to
work.
do
Totally.
it. It took work. You got to respect the work. You don't respect the act, but you go, man, that guy
like-
put some work in.
What's the furthest you've ever gone to find out something about an ex that you felt in your gut wasn't right?
Felt in my gut that wasn't right.
You like something's happening here, and I need to get to the bottom of it.
I guess there must be something, but I don't think this felt wrong. But the only time is like if there's been an ex's whose Instagram is private, and I can't see it, but I maybe know somebody who follows them, and so I'll be like, hey man, can I just look at your phone real quick? But I don't feel like, by the way, that's pretty easy, and it doesn't even seem that diabolical or like,
Anybody
oh my
here
God.
else guilty of that?
Yeah. Can I see your phone?
Let me see.
I mean, but again, I wouldn't think it was that bad. Again, I think it's about convenience. If you ask me, like I said, if we were going back in the day, like, oh, do you wonder what she's doing or whatever? I don't wonder enough what she's doing to actually make an effort. I just like, there's a button here. I could click on it. It's like looking at porn, looking at anything else. Like, oh, boom. It's like, so when girls are always like surprised when they're like, oh, if girls get mad at you, like, oh, you looked up this girl or you did that. I'm like, it's so fucking easy.
Oh no, it's an addictive, lazy action.
Yeah, they think more thought goes into something than it really does, and it's like it's one button.
The thing for me is like I can be like, I'm so focused on growing life and enjoying life
Right.
Me too.
that sometimes I can be a dopey little kid about the savageness that somebody in my inner circle is really about. And so it took me too long to open my eyes to the pettiness and the savageness, though, that you can be victim to, that somebody is targeting you to that degree. They're targeting your stupidity, essentially. The worst the worst case of stalking on an ex that I could ever say I did. She wasn't an ex, Jack. She was still my girlfriend. But she moved away to another state to go to school. And we were in a long distance relationship, which I now believe they just don't exist. But that's my personal opinion. It's just how long until you ultimately go your separate ways.
I agree.
That's it. It's just,
I agree.
but I really got the feeling on a visit to her school when I left. I was like, she's involved with another guy here. Like I could just freaking feel it in my gut.
There's some things you can just tell.
Yeah, you just felt it, and I could just
Where did you feel it?
in the bedroom. Just bedroom.
When she said his name.
No, just you
Felt like there's a little extra room in here.
Yeah, it just felt like this is not going the way it normally goes.
Well, I'm just saying. I was like, you're like, wait a second.
Yeah, no, it wasn't.
Where'd you learn that from?
It wasn't roomier. It wasn't
Yeah.
roomier. No, it just
roomier.
it wasn't what I was used to.
Whoa.
It wasn't.
Which
How
mean-
about that? It wasn't roomier.
Wasn't
it
what
just
you were
it
used
just
to.
wasn't
Was
what
it
I
like
was
the
used
end of
to.
Blame Game? Yeah. What is that? That Chris Rock outro?
It was sandy.
Interesting.
It was
Sandy. Yeah.
It was
Something.
lackluster. Can we put these words up for people?
Oh,
It was-
interesting.
It was lackluster. That was
I
the
don't even know what that
performance
means.
was
That's
lackluster.
Oh, I see. Like, I'm not enthused.
Lackluster. Yes.
Yeah. It's like I just came from a 5-star hotel and now I'm here at the Courtyard Marriott.
Uninspired.
Yeah.
Uninspired. Put that word on it.
That is a good.
Yes.
By the way,
It was uninspired.
when
on
you
this-
see a girl, when you're having sex with a girl and you see her face and she looks uninspired, which is a great way to say it, and I've seen it, that hurts my soul. If she doesn't come, okay, I can get over that. If other things aren't going right, but when I see her face and it's kind of like, you can just tell, like, is it almost done? And it's like,
could
ooh.
be doing my hair. Yes.
Jesus, that's a rough one.
That's a tough.
I've experienced that a few times, and it's like, oh, it's just not my best day, or maybe it was a little cold in the room. I don't know what my excuse was, but it just wasn't.
So wait. My buddy.
Well, because it matters.
Yeah.
Heat. Listen, heat can affect me.
A buddy of
Temperature.
mine.
Temperature's big.
This is wild. This is what I'm about to share with you is so wildly illegal and no longer possible in our digital realm that's why it's funny for me to share, because it's just that long ago.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm really excited.
But
now.
a buddy of mine who was an amazing athlete got sick and tired of hearing me complain about aspects of my ex and missing her or whatever. And he's like, man, you need to get... Actually, a buddy of mine who's an amazing athlete got sick of me complaining about the situation with my girl. And he's like, man, you need to get to the bottom of this shit and just end this right now.
Yeah.
And he was like, have you checked her phone? He's like, man, I don't do all that, man. I don't be doing all this. He says, nah, you got to check her phone, man. You need to end
Yeah, I agree
this
with
right
that.
now, right?
Check the phone.
So I was like, no, man, I got to be honest with you. I said, I don't. I said, I don't do all that. I said, I can do this all with my gut feeling. It just works. It's healthier that way. Well, he didn't believe in that. And he had many wonderful relationships. And one of the relationships he had was with a lovely young lady who worked at Sprint.
Sprint?
Like the phone carrier.
Oh, that's
the
funny.
phone carrier.
You had very lovely relationships.
Zap.
So he calls me up and he asked me for some bare minimum information. And I'm like, I don't really have the information that you even want. He's like, just say something. And I said something. And before you know it, I had passwords to this person's phone bill.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And I'm like, I can't believe you've done this, dog. I can't. So I download the entire phone bill for like the last 2 months.
Yeah.
Now I call up my other intel, which is a black girl I've known since I was 11 years old. I love you, Portia. And Portia's like, bring that bill over to me. I'm going to show you how to read a phone bill. Because I don't know what the hell I'm looking at. It's just numbers everywhere. 2-minute calls, 20-minute calls. And she said, Jay, I'm going to teach you something about cheaters. Typically, cheaters like to call whoever they're cheating with right after they've called the person they're involved with. It's a psychological misstep.
Interesting.
I'm like, okay, right before or right after? So
That's
it's
interesting.
Like, so it's like, I'm going to check on my boo and make sure
then my
everything's cool.
thing.
And now I'm going to check on my thing. And so I started following that pattern and I found my number clustered next to another guy's number.
Wow.
And I'm like, always, it just started circling it in red. I'm like, called my number here,
Oh,
and
damn.
this guy's number. My number here.
It was like,
this guy's
bang.
That was like real police
Bang.
work.
Oh, this
Boo,
dude, this
bang,
dude.
boo, boo,
That's what I said. This
bang.
took
I love
me.
the circling.
Yeah, this took me down a road of like, oh, this is unhealthy. I don't even want to be with people that make me have to do this.
Oh,
crap.
yeah, of course. Yeah.
Whatever. But we got down to the bottom of it. Cross-referenced that number. That dude was enrolled at the school.
Ding, 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 ding.
Ding, 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 ding. And then at that point,
The worst and best
at that
feeling
point,
all
at that point, it
rolled
was
into
easy.
one.
At that point, once I got the name at the school, I literally called one of her best friends. I called one of her best friends. It was just like,
Yeah.
tell me what I need to know. Do you know this person's name? And I mean, that's what's so funny about girls. You guys hang out in packs and you're not really friends. That is the most mind-blowing thing. I'm watching that on White Lotus this season, and I am loving it. I'm like,
That
these three chicks
trio,
are
they
not
hate each other.
friends.
No.
Like, it's like for guys, if three dudes did not like each other to that degree,
Yeah, they wouldn't hang out with each other.
we would have to fight. It would be like, dog, you go over there. I don't ever want to see you again. You go over there. I never want to see you again. Women, it's like
It's
the
keep
more
your
you
friends
hate each
clo-
other,
or keep your
the
friends
closer
close.
you get.
Keep your
Yeah.
friends close. Keep
Yeah,
your
yeah,
enemies
that-
closer.
And I'm like, shit.
And in White Lotus, it exemplifies it perfectly.
And this particular ex would
Which is crazy.
never guess which one of her girlfriends
It's
just
probably her closest
gave it
one.
all up.
Oh, man.
Oh, yes, Jay. No, she met him there on the night that you visited then, and blah, 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 blah.
that
And I
is
always wanted
rough.
to say something. You know, you would always give her stuff. And
Ugh. That's horrible.
And it was just like, all right.
Wait, I have a question. Did this friend then afterwards be like, hi?
Yep.
Yeah.
So then I started.
Well, that makes sense,
So
though.
then I
That
started.
checks.
So then I started kicking it with another woman after that who was way older than me. I had never
Okay.
really dated a woman that was like 10 years older than me.
Oh, wow, that's significant.
And that was actually a meaningful relationship because it was just like her maturity was just like on a whole nother level.
Right.
But again, she was diabolical too. And so she told me, she's like, oh, this is what's going to happen and this is what's going to happen next with the girl who told you that information and your ex. And both of those things happened.
Yeah.
And it was just like,
Well, I knew immediately when you said like, oh, she's the one's like, I wanted to tell you.
Yeah.
Then like, you know, like
Yeah.
you're like,
but
Did the dude look like Rife? Matt Rife?
now you're a fool, dog.
Because then if you looked like Matt Rife, you would have been like, hey, I get it.
This is why
I
you have
mean,
such a
geez,
beef.
the jawline is crazy.
Matt Rife has never been this black. This was a brother, man. This was a brother.
No, that's a rough. God, that's so diabolical.
So when you have to go through all those channels,
Yeah, you know
to,
it's
to
lost.
Get, to
Yeah.
get to the truth.
Yeah, that's bad.
You know, it's bad, but it's just kind of like nowadays you guys have so much technology that you don't need to do all that.
You get to bypass the phone
You get to
bill.
bypass the phone.
You get to
bill,
bypass so much of
all
you just
that,
like
boop boop boop. All that
info.
crap.
I believe in checking
Yeah.
the phones. I remember a girl came over my house. We weren't dating, and she came over, but then she didn't want to have sex, but she wanted to sleep over. I thought that was odd. There was something odd. I could feel it.
Didn't
can
want
always
to have
feel it.
sex, but she wanted to sleep over.
And I said, something's
Dun,
not right.
dun,
Something's
dun.
not right. As soon as she
Skylar,
went,
have you ever experienced that before? She didn't want to have sex, but she wanted to sleep over.
well, I'm going to give you the reveal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, here's the reveal. So as soon as she went to the bathroom, this must have been before passcodes, because I definitely didn't know her passcode. Went right to her phone. I had no shame. I still feel fine about it. And I went right to
you
her phone.
stooped to that level.
First text. Wasn't even like I had to scroll deep. First text was to her girlfriend. Something made me say, let me click on that. And she was like, something about blah, blah, blah. I'm not sure about having sex because I just had sex last night and it's less than 24 hours. And he was so big that it hurt. Now, let me tell you why I believe in checking phones, though.
Build-A-Bear, bro.
Let me tell you.
Did you call him a
Bro,
Build-A-Bear?
you were a Build-A-Bear for her that night. She was
Oh,
What's a
snap,
build? What's
Skylar.
a Build-A-Bear? I mean, I know what Build-A-Bear is, but what is
like
that?
plush like toys they make the bears.
Oh, to like just
Like you
snuggle
cuddled
with?
afterwards.
She
You just
got-
what you want.
She
got
could
crushed
have been
by
still.
him.
So you're basically saying
And
she.
she cuddled with her
my
plush
God.
toy.
So you're
over
saying like
here.
she's still
I'm
leaking
marking
out, and she's touching someone else. That's like
And
what
you
it's
you
for.
were there for cuddles.
Right. So she's still like,
Tough.
wow.
Oh, your
There's
villain name
remnants.
is the cuddler.
The cuddling.
Well, but let me tell you
cuddler.
something. But this is why I believe in checking phones. One, I got my answer. I knew she was acting
Oh,
weird.
man.
I knew she was acting weird, and I was confirmed, so I felt right. I was like, okay, you just had sex, which again, I didn't really have such a problem with. We weren't dating, so it's like, whatever. But I don't know why you're here. And then the second was,
He just told you.
well, fine, fair. Well, I just said I don't know. Yeah, it wasn't for me, but yes, that's why she was there. And then the second thing, it started on that. Oh, she said it was so big that it hurt, and then there was more text about how she didn't really enjoy the sex, and I went, that's good information.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, so there can be too big. So
Knowledge
that made me feel
acquisition.
good. That was the first time I heard that too big is sometimes not the best, and I
Yeah.
had never heard that before. And I was like,
So it was
well,
roomy
that's
for
a
you.
nice relief. Yeah, there's room for me, especially, and the heat doesn't even have to be fully on. We could be a little cold and might still work.
I want to go to the phone thing because both of you are in relationships, married.
Yeah, I'm married now.
I'm
Girlfriend.
married in all intents and purposes.
No,
Married.
you're not.
Well, that's true.
Until I see some hardware, my friend.
I need a loan. Hey, it's black
Please
owned.
subscribe.
You can own the
Please
ring
subscribe
too.
so Joseph can
Hey,
get some hardware.
This is
okay?
by Jaleel.
Well, we got to start the GoFundMe
Made
for
by
Joseph's
Jaleel.
ring.
Yeah, made by Jaleel. Here you go. What were we
Weddings
gonna
just
say?
sponsored by.
Yeah, wedding sponsored by Purple.
Purple.
It's purple. But wait, what were you saying? What's the phone thing?
So you both are in relationships.
Yeah.
What is your thought about checking phones now? Do you share your passcode with your partner? Do you look through your partner's phone? Like, what's kind of your?
Look through.
It's a non-issue for me.
Yeah.
At this point, it's a non-issue for me. I get the sense in my relationship now, especially that the phone is not necessarily an issue for
Okay.
us because I think our whereabouts kind of speak for everything.
Do you have each other's locations on your phone?
I don't believe in that crap.
Really?
That's weird to me.
No, we
that's
both-
Do you
weird.
share location?
No, you know why? No, I'll tell
Yeah.
you why it's weird. Because I'm not gonna say which one of them,
Mm-hmm.
ex though. She told me, she was like, "Hey, I'm just letting you know I'm sharing my location with you."
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like again it was a diabolical test, and I was like, okay. And then about a month went by, and she shared her location with me, and then things started getting rocky between us, and she stopped sharing her location with me.
Yeah, well, that's in a fucked up way. Yeah.
So I was like, that's one reason why I said I would rather not do that because, well, you know what I'm saying, in a healthy relationship.
Right.
Because the day somebody stops sharing their location with you,
Savage.
you don't need to even ask any questions. Why'd you stop sharing?
yeah, of course.
You see what I'm saying? So it's like
Yeah.
if you never, I don't, all of this technology that we have now is making people forget how you were supposed to gauge back in the day whether or not your relationship is working or not.
Right.
You know, I got a daughter to pick up from school. You know, we have volleyball practice to get to. You know,
Right.
my wife and I we're sharing in these duties, and you know, there's a basic kind of, and then there's also a connectedness between us. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like, hey, I'm coming home early. You know, I want to watch the episode of White Lotus tonight or whatever. It's like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Whatever, right? If all of a sudden all that cuddling, all that touching, all of that, it just starts to get weird.
That's when you know.
You don't need to get on people's phones or whatnot.
Yeah.
Just focus on fixing the relationship.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
There's only 24 hours in a day. You're going to sleep for 6 to 8.
Yeah.
You're going to work for another part of that.
Yeah.
After that, if you're given a certain amount of time that you can build an entire relationship with somebody else, that means you're not giving that time where it belongs.
Yeah.
So
That's
you
like
don't-
to what you said, like if you're in the right place.
Yeah.
You know.
If you're where you're supposed,
You're supposed to,
to
you're
be,
supposed to be. Everything's
then everything goes
good.
smoothly. It's always when you're not where you're supposed
Yeah.
to be that everything
No,
goes
it's true.
off
When
the
when you're
rails.
doing something shady, you bring on bad energy. And
Yeah.
like it's amazing how there
Totally.
are people though that live that way their whole lives, and I assume something eventually bad happens, but it's amazing how people can go on like that without stuff. Like me, I learned very early on in my life, if I'm doing something I'm not supposed to be doing, 20 bad things are happening. It's just I was never the guy getting away with shit. If I did some shit, all hell, like all these things would happen.
It was a
I even-
domino
car
effect.
I
breaks
can't even
down.
fucking take if I take a
Shut
nap.
shoelace on top. Yeah.
If I take a nap, I'm guaranteed to miss 8 business texts in the middle of the day. Like, I'm fucked. Like, nothing I do, if I do any of the littlest thing wrong, so I've learned not to fuck up. We have to wrap this up.
Yeah, that's the universe telling you to stay focused on your
Yes,
path.
100%. And that's what, now I just believe in, that's why I really try not to lie anymore about
I
anything.
love your
even
girl.
stuff.
I love your love for your girl, though.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, we're
I love
very.
Sarah.
Me and her are very honest with each other. Like probably even more honest than the average couple. Like we'll just, and I think being that we both have like very high morals, that's like a big thing for us. We're almost too over the top, trying to do the right thing.
That's great.
So you watch her porn separately.
Sometimes, but sometimes it's together. But that's a whole other
Depends on the
episode. That's a whole other episode. But last thing, do you think? Because we're talking about dating and people and everything like that, and just and you're in a good, obviously you're in an amazing marriage, and we're not on the dating game anymore. But for other people,
That's why it's fun to talk about it now.
yes, 100%.
That's right, it's
Do you
fun.
think? And we won't see it. We won't really know. Will pubes make a comeback?
What?
Great question.
No, what I'm saying is like, do you think we won't know, obviously, like with our own eyes, but maybe we'll hear about it through friends. Do you think they'll make a comeback? Like the now it's about shaving, men and women. Do you think it's gonna like be like it was like the bush and even because even I groom, I'm sure you do as well. Do you think it's gonna come back like clothes, like baggy clothes are back in? Will a heavier bush load?
Chloe, you want to feel this?
This is actually a good question because
No, it's not.
Great.
no, I actually think so because
History
Who-
repeats itself.
because
Fashion.
in like the 60s and the 70s, okay, I went to Berkeley. So that was a very hippy dippy school. And that was like, I would go to classes and I'd see armpit hair galore. I mean, do the curtains match the drapes? Probably. I'm not, I wasn't
Yeah.
necessarily. But that's interesting because also when
But
you were
Bush
dating
used to
though,
be
were you
in.
talking about that?
It used
Was
to
that
be
even
in.
a
You might have lived through
conversation?
that. I don't know. I wasn't around, but I'm just saying. I didn't, but I'm just saying.
just called
there
you
was
old.
No, I wasn't. I'm just saying. He's been acting since he was out the womb. I'm just saying he might have seen certain things, but we won't know. But will we hear about it? Like, and obviously, when I was younger, no one told me that males should groom as much as a woman. But then as I got older, they were like, "Oh no, you need to take care of down there." And I was like, "Oh shit!" So it's like you got to be manscaped. That's big. We might even get them as a sponsor. I'm just wondering if we think it will return.
I've had them as a sponsor before.
Yeah, there you go. See, so you know. So you're about it. That's what I'm saying. So
I'm a
do
fan
you
of their
think
products, actually.
right? Okay, so you use them, but could you ever see it like baggy clothes coming back, or do you don't think it's just too much shrubbery to get through?
Why do you end our podcast like this? What?
No,
Why do you?
I'm just asking. It's a genuine question. If you think it'll come back, I want to know the answer. Do you think it could, or is it just not convenient, so it won't? Baggy clothes at least keep you warm. I mean, I guess a bush keeps you warm, but sexually, it's not going to be great. Because I can't go down. I've choked if it's too much.
Oh, you don't do that?
No, I do it. I'm saying, but if there was too much, I've choked. Or even a few strands, I might be choking. I once coughed and tears were coming out of my eyes because I choked so hard. So I'm just like, it's not.
Did you finish though?
I got some water and then cleared my throat and then I went back. Yes, I'm a team player. If I like you, I'm gonna make sure you're good. But I was choking, so I couldn't finish in the moment. And so,
Skylar, you always have
Skylar, what's out there right now?
Short words of wisdom for us to put Joseph's wilder thoughts in proper perspective.
Oh, if the bush is gonna come back.
Did it ever leave?
Well, it must have.
Yeah, I think it left.
Okay.
I think it depends. You know, it's funny. It depends the state of the country.
My man.
State of the country.
My man.
You know,
That's true.
When the bush was out was during the Vietnam War when all the hippies were around.
Oh shit! You got
Oh,
some
and it said
history
that
buff.
it's at the 60s.
Wait, just real quick. I don't know if you'll answer this or not, but I remember in 2016. That's how vivid this is. Diddy was giving an interview. And this dude said on
Diddy.
Okay.
No Diddy.
Yeah. He on a radio, he literally goes, listen, females, come out to the concert tonight, come out, looking your best. And then he goes, and I thought it was weird at the time. He goes, fellas, you gotta be groomed too, because I'm hearing about some barbaric things going on in that area, and y'all not grooming yourselves. It's about looking fresh. And I remember thinking, like, who are you hearing that from? I have a feeling you're not hearing it from anyone. You're hearing it seeing that firsthand. And I remember thinking it was weird at the time. And now, in 2025, we've maybe been vindicated of that thought. We know where he was seeing the barbaric bush.
Okay. Wow. Allegedly.
Allegedly.
But all right. I mean, look.
Anyway.
It's been a
I don't know if
pleasure.
it's coming-
First episode.
I don't know if it's coming back or not, but it's not going to affect us either way.
That's true, because if our girls decide to grow it back, we got no choice.
Exactly.
We're going in.
You're going to be choking.
Thank you so much for tuning into our first episode. Everybody Lurks. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, leave a review, follow us on our social media, and we'll see you next time.